Nice comfortable spot. Kia ora. If you can't tell, I like the colour green. I've had an absolutely atrociously unproductive day today, so I thought I got to do this video to make today somewhat worth it. So this is the books that I read in 2023. Yes, it's almost February. Deal with it. Got my bag full of books here. Alright, so 2023 was actually the year that I got into reading. I think between about 2017, 2018 and 2023 I read a total of 0 books. And then towards the end of 2023 I started getting into reading. So the first book that I read in 2023 was The Storyteller by Dave Grohl. Amazing book. Just is him pretty much retelling his childhood, growing up, just about the bands that he was in before he got to Nirvana. He ended up playing for Iggy Pop just randomly before he was even in Nirvana, which is like super cool. Just saw the Foo Fighters live. They were absolutely incredible. Can't recommend this book enough. The Storyteller, I want to give it 4.5 out of 5. I still haven't come across a book that is 5 out of 5, but this book got me into reading and I love it. Just going to start a nice pile in the general vicinity. The next book that I read straight after The Storyteller was Flea, Acid for the Children. Another musician's book. This is a memoir from Flea, the bass player from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I really loved this one as well. I didn't like it as much as Dave Grohl's book, but I really enjoyed this book. You can tell that Flea wrote it. Every chapter is like 3 pages long, which was perfect for my, just coming into reading. It made the book fly by. That's what I'm trying to say. Awesome book. Highly recommend. I give this a 4 out of 5. But yeah, Flea, Acid for the Children, a memoir. Beautiful. He talks about some of the stuff that he went through as a child, and it was pretty rough. Some of it is pretty rough. But if you're a fan of musician autobiographies, I think it's an biography, whichever one is written by the musician, those are the ones that I like. You'll probably like this one. Really good read. Next up, the one that I read straight after Acid for the Children was Robert Plant, A Life by Paul Rees, and this book absolutely bored me to death. Cannot recommend that book. I do not recommend that book. I found it very boring. It made me dislike Robert Plant. I didn't even finish it. I got to about halfway through and decided it's just not worth it. Did not finish that book. Then straight after that, I read, it's the only book that I don't own, David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. Amazing. Amazing book. Amazing dude. If you want to get motivated, if you want to feel like someone's picking you up and throwing you 100 meters to doing something that is meaningful and achieving something, then read that book. Absolutely, honestly, life-changing if you decide to read it the way that I did. I absolutely loved Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Alright, next up on the docket, I think I read this next. I can't remember which order. 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Controversial dude. I honestly can't see why I like him. Going into this book, didn't realise how much he pulls from Christianity and the Bible. I'm not a religious person myself, but I actually did really appreciate how he was able to pull from the Bible and really link things from the Bible to modern day, and it gave me a new appreciation for the text. And I really recommend this book. I pulled a lot of good things from this book. I took a lot of good things away from it. Yeah, I can definitely recommend this book. 4 out of 5. For me, it was a little bit challenging kind of wrapping my head around some of the ideas that I wasn't super familiar with to begin with. Just going to move this piece of grass out of the way. 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. I'm a big fan. Next, we all saw this one coming. Atomic Habits. 4.5 out of 5. Maybe a 5 out of 5. I don't think I need to say much about this book. It's Atomic Habits. Everyone has heard of it. Everyone knows about this book. Everyone knows how good this book is for changing habits and forming good habits. It's Atomic Habits. It's great. Now next I read this book, The Happiest Man on Earth by Eddie Jaku. Whew. This book is heavy. This book is deep. But everyone needs to read this book. I picked it up from Kmart. So if it's in Kmart in New Zealand, then you can pretty much get it anywhere. This tells the story of a Holocaust survivor. He had a real rough upbringing. thanks to this great big thing, I don't know if you've heard of it, called World War II. He survived the Holocaust. He survived prison camps, including Auschwitz. Amazing story though. Definitely recommend this book. 4.5 out of 5. Everyone needs to read this book. I don't care who you are, which religion you follow. I think everyone should read this book. Next, I read Animal Farm by George Orwell. Very quick read too. It's only a novella. It's like 94 pages or something. I loved Animal Farm. I'm sure I must have read it as a kid or seen it somewhere or heard it somewhere. It was very familiar. But if you're unaware, pretty much the animals are people, or the animals talk to each other like they're people when they can talk to humans like they're people, and they decide to overthrow the farmer who they decide is an oppressive leader, I guess, an oppressive owner, and they think that they can have a better life than they're being given, and they decide to overthrow, and then the pigs take charge, and then the pigs start doing a bunch of oppressive stuff to the other animals, and they pretty much just become the humans. Really good book, and I like to think of it as a prequel to 1984. Lots of similar ideologies, and 1984 is pretty much like the big brother of Animal Farm. Animal Farm really lays the groundwork for what 1984 does. I don't need to say much about this book. It's 1984, it's classic, George Orwell, it's the Orwellian book. 1984, amazing. I absolutely fell in love with this book, with the character development, with the romantic development between the two main characters pretty much, or between the main character and another character. I was heartbroken. I was so invested in the protagonist's story and his fight against Big Brother, essentially. And I was heartbroken at the end. If you haven't read this book, read this book. You're missing out. You don't know what you're missing out on. Amazing. 1984. What else can I say? And the last book that I read, I'm pretty sure it's the last book that I read in 2023, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This book was a bit challenging for me as a bit of a new reader. It was hard to wrap my head around the vocabulary of essentially 1800s, the way that people used to talk and write. It was a lot, but I definitely got what the story was saying. And yeah, just a classic piece of literature. Definitely recommend reading Frankenstein. Awesome book. If you haven't read this book and you don't know much about Frankenstein, it's probably going to surprise you, because a lot of what I thought I knew about Frankenstein wasn't true and wasn't even relevant. Definitely recommend Frankenstein. It's a fairly quick read. It's like 200 pages. Really good read. Definitely worth it. That's the books that I read in 2023. Thought I'd better make this video before 2024 progresses too far, because it's already, is it the 24th today? I don't know. I'm on holiday. Thanks for watching. I like green.